Hello everyone. Welcome to another interesting and informative session of the Analyst. In today's video, we will discuss 5 important topics from the perspective of the UPSC examination as featured in today's Hindu and Indian Express. The topics are as follows. We will begin our discussion by inquiring about the issues related to the cotton industry in India. After which we will study in detail about a critically endangered species, that is Kashmiri red stag or Hangul. Then we will have a quick overlook about the positive impacts of production linked incentive scheme for India's pharmaceutical industry. It will be followed by the next article where we will try to understand the complex election procedure of Rajya Sabha. Towards the end, we will study about the commissionerate system which has been adopted by several states. The handout for the discussion will be available in the description of the video for your effective revision. So let's begin. As per Indian Cotton Federation, the cotton industry is facing several issues such as the decline in production as well as low global demand, which forms an important component of your GS3 paper under the theme of major crops such as cotton and issues related to growth and development of Indian industries. The cotton crop is a major crop which is produced in our country. So let's begin with inquiring the status of cotton cultivation in India. Well, cotton is a kharif crop, which means it grows in hot and sunny climate which has annual rainfall of up to 50 to 100 centimeter. It also requires long frost-free days of up to 210 days. At the same time, the soil which is most suitable for cotton cultivation is black soil, which is formed due to the fissure of volcanic rock beds, as well as cotton is also grown in our country in several other soils such as alluvial as well as red soil of the south zone, which has the capacity to retain moisture for a long period. India grows all 4 types of cotton such as Asian cotton, Egyptian cotton and American upland cotton. At the same time, India produces 18% of the total cotton in the world, thus being the largest cotton producing country. At the same time, we also hold the status of country with the largest area under cotton cultivation, which is up to the 25% of total area under cotton cultivation in the world, which makes us the world's 3rd largest exporter of the cotton and comprising of 10% of world's total export. In our country, Gujarat has the distinction of being the state with the largest cotton production, closely followed by the state of Maharashtra, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, together which they form the cotton basket of our country. With this limited information, let's try to solve a question which appeared in the prelims 2020. The question asks us to identify a crop which is subtropical in nature and requires 210 frost-free days and 50 to 100 centimeter of rainfall. At the same time, this crop grows in a soil which has capability to retain moisture. Thus, as we all have guessed, the crop is cotton. Now, this cotton crop has multiple uses. For example, it produces the fiber which constitutes 66% of textile industry. At the same time, cotton seeds contain 13 to 15% of oil which can be used as a domestic cooking fuel. Also, this oil produced from cotton is the third largest domestically produced vegetable oil after mustard and soybean. At the same time, cotton apparel exports comprises of the 51% of total apparel export, and these export goes to various countries such as US, Indonesia, Bangladesh, etc. Thus, the cotton is termed as white gold for its various economic uses, making a significant contribution to our Indian economy. As it is the second largest employer after the agriculture sector, providing jobs to directly and indirectly to 60 million people. At the same time, it contributes to 5% of our GDP, 14% of our industrial production, as well as 11% of our total export revenues. As you guys can see on the map, there are various important cotton industries across our country, such as in Ahmedabad, Surat, Mumbai, Coimbatore, Madurai, also on the east side, such as in Murshidabad and Kolkata. Thus, this industry is very important for our country's overall economic growth. But recently, the cotton industry has been hampered by various issues which are surrounding it, one of the major being the decline in the production of cotton. As you guys can see in the table, the cotton production has declined from 398 lakh bales. This bale constitutes 170 kg of cotton. So from 398 lakh bales in the year 2012, in a period of decade, we have come down to 343 lakh bales. At the same time, the cotton yield in kg per hectare has been declined from 566 to 447 kg per hectare. There are several causes for such decline. One of the major being that around 67% of our total cotton production grows in the rain-fed region, thus showing that the cotton industry is heavily dependent on monsoon. At the same time, we all are aware about the climate vagaries which are taking place due to global warming. This problem is also further compounded by the issue of El Nino, which will ultimately lead to the rainfall deficit and ultimately decline in production. At the same time, this problem is further aggravated because of the limited irrigation infrastructure which is present in these cotton producing states such as Gujarat, Maharashtra, etc. At the same time, there has been decline in soil fertility because of these monocrop cultivating practices as well as excessive use of pesticides. Also, there has been decline in area under cotton cultivation. For example, the cotton cultivation area stood at 130 lakh hectare in 2022 and it come down to 124 lakh hectare in the year 2023. The reason being that farmers are moving to produce other commercial crops which are more profitable for them. At the same time, to those crops which is being procured by the government under minimum support price. Also, the decline has been caused because of the emergence of pink bollworm which has affected several states. It is a disease which affects the cotton crop and this disease has grown resistant to various kind of pesticides. At the same time, the industry of cotton is not able to face these challenges because they are small in scale. For example, cotton industry majorly falls in the category of a micro, small, medium enterprise and up to the 90% of cotton industry is unorganized. which leads to their less mechanization and continuous reliance on traditional agricultural practices. At the same time, there has been growing issue of increasing the cost of raw material. So it is obvious that if there is decline in production, the raw material prices will increase. At the same time, these raw material prices are also increasing because of various other factors such as increasing the cost of fertilizer, electricity, etc., which leads to these small scale industries having limited market access and thus pressurizing the cotton farmers to sell their products at meager rates to various intermediaries, which has ultimately led to India's growing reliance on import. Also keep this in mind that the cotton variety which we grow in our country is a hybrid cotton, but the cotton which is demanded by these fabric industry or textile industry is long yield staple cotton, and this variety is in shortage in our country. Thus, in the year 2023, India imported around 35 lakh bales of cotton, which costed us around 8,300 crore rupees, thus significantly impacting our balance of trade in the cotton. At the same time, there has been decline in exports, as you guys can see in the table, that from exporting around $10,000 million in the year 2022, there has been 5 times decline in the year of 2024. This decline in export has been caused because of the inflation in buying countries such as in Europe because of geopolitical tensions such as Russia-Ukraine war, or in the recent case the growing crisis in the Red Sea region. At the same time, there has been rise of alternative producers such as Bangladesh, who are providing cheaper cotton products to these countries. Keep this in mind that these Bangladesh products has duty-free access to European Union, while we are still trying to finalize free trade agreement with European Union, thus obviously making our products much costlier there in comparison to the products from Bangladesh. Also, several steps taken by the government has hampered the industries, such as import duty, which was put on the cotton in 2021, thus increasing the cost of raw material, as well as excessive compliance under quality control orders, which has increased the cost of Indian products in international markets, significantly impacting our exports. Also, this has led to the migration of workers to better jobs. For example, as per a recent case study, in Karnataka, the government-owned power loom sector is majorly driven by women, who constitutes 90% of these cotton worker workforce. These women are paid minimum wages and no incentives at all. So it is obvious that with the rising gig economy, these women will obviously move towards better paying jobs. At the same time, post-pandemic, this particular textile sector has experienced K-shaped recovery, thus leading to heavy number of job losses as well as indebtedness for farmers. To counter all these issues, the government has taken several steps. For example, it has introduced BT cotton or Bole Gad 2 cotton, which is the only transgenic crop which has been allowed for commercial production in our country. This is a genetically modified crop which is resistant to bollworm disease. Also, the government has taken several other initiatives such as amended Tech Upgradation Fund scheme, under which the central government is providing tax rebates to increase the production as well as exports. Further, for capacity building in the textile sector, the government has launched Samarth scheme, under which we are providing skill to more than 10 lakh workers in the textile sector. The government is also planning to create mega textile parks, almost 7 by the year of 2025. At the same time, to increase the production as well as to make people aware about the domestic handloom products, the government has launched initiatives such as Make in India campaign and My Handloom, My Pride campaign respectively. However, there are several steps which can be taken to further improve the health of this industry, such as we can remove or change our cropping system to high density planting system, which will contribute to more crop per area by using the technology to avail various kinds of defoliation, hand picking systems for cotton, etc. Also, what we can do is that we can create community-based seed banks to conserve as well as share the traditional varieties of seeds for better price discovery of such seeds, which will help us to decrease the raw material cost. Also, in the budget 2023, the government has launched a technology mission on cotton 2.0, under where we are trying to increase our production capacity for long staple cotton, which is in high demand in international market. For this, we are going with cluster based production method on PPP model or public private partnership model. Also, what we can strive for is to do value addition by creating local processing units near these cotton producing areas, which will ultimately lead to value addition and better price discovery for these cottons. At the same time, we need to connect the artisans and weavers to the customers for better market discovery, and for that purpose we can effectively utilize the e-commerce platforms. Further, these MSMEs can collaborate, let's say with National Institute of Fashion Technology, to create such products which are desired by our youth. Thus, to fulfill the objective of $100 billion of cotton export by the year of 2025, these steps are imperative. With this suggestion, we move forward to the next news of the day. Kashmiri Hangul has been in the news because a recent research has shown that there are positive signs of increasing numbers of this critically endangered Kashmir's red stag, also known as Hangul, which forms an important component of your GS1 paper under the theme of critical changes in flora and fauna. So let's first try to understand about the species Hangul, which is a subspecies of Central Asian red deer. It gets its name from its favorite food, which is horse chestnut, which is called in Kashmiri as Han Doon. It is also the only Asiatic survivor of the subspecies of European red deer, and it is also the state animal of Jammu and Kashmir. The habitat of Hangul extends from Dachigam National Park, which is in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, in Srinagar, and it lies east to Dal Lake. Also keep this in mind that Dachigam National Park falls in the Jabarwan range of Himalayas, And in Dachigam National Park, you can also find brown bear and musk deer. Further, the range extends to Overa Aru Wildlife Sanctuary and Rajparian Wildlife Sanctuary, which is in Kishtawar, and Sindh Valley, and further to the northern Chamba in Himachal Pradesh. This Hangul is listed on Appendix 1 of CITES and Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Such high status of protection is provided to Hangul because of the reason that it is listed as critically endangered on IUCN list, which means that either the 90% population has declined in the last 10 years, or there is a possibility that this species is going to be extinct by 50% in the next 10 years. So let's try to understand the decline in the population of Hangul. As you guys can see on the map, in the table, in the year 1947, there were around 2000 Hanguls in our country. However, this number declined to as low as to 187 in the year of 2015. However, with certain steps taken by the government, which we are going to discuss later, the number has shown a gradual increase up to 261, 270 in recent years. However, such rampant decline in the population of Hangul was caused because of habitat fragmentation or loss of habitat due to excessive livestock grazing in the alpine pastures of Upper Dachigam region. At the same time, there are issues of predation which are caused by the dogs of nomadic tribes such as Bakarwals or the dogs of security forces as well as wild animals. This is further compounded by the issue of poaching, where these Hanguls are killed for their skin and meat, which is in high demand in international market. At the same time, the growing industries and urbanization is also a major cause. For example, the government has allowed for construction of a cement industry around Dachigam National Park. Also, there is increasing tourism in this region of Srinagar, which impacts the population of these shy animal Kashmiri Hangul. Over and above which, there is the issue of non-availability of water in the vicinity of their habitat, which force these Hanguls, especially the pregnant lactating mothers, to go in the direction of populated regions, which ultimately create the issue of human-animal conflict. All these issues has led to the decline of population and especially the falling male to female ratio, which has come down as per the report to 19.2 males per 100 females. Whereas as per IUCN, this ratio shall be 40 to 50 males per 100 females. Thus, there has been several steps which has been taken by the government and various other animal protecting agencies. For example, in the year of 1970, the project Hangul was launched by the collaboration between Kashmiri government and Worldwide Wildlife Fund, which focused upon the involvement of local communities such as Bakarwals for the protection of these critically endangered species. In the year of 2009, this project was renamed as Save Kashmir's Hangul. Also, in the year of 2010, the Wildlife Conservation Fund launched a project called as Hangul Conservation Project. Also, on the lines of protected tiger corridors, the government has recently launched a secure corridors for these undisturbed movement of Hanguls, such as Vangat-Naranak corridor. To further increase the population, the government has also initiated a captive breeding facility which is in Shikargah, Tral. As Kashmiri Hangul is a keystone species for Himalayan region, their protection and conservation demands immediate attention. Thus, there shall be strict steps which should be taken to curb the issue of poaching under the Wildlife Protection Act, as well as the protected areas of Hangul shall be further increased. With these suggestions, we move forward to the next news of the day. The Indian government has recently launched 40 greenfield pharma projects under Production Linked Incentive Scheme or PLI scheme for manufacturing bulk drugs and medical devices in our country. This forms an important component of your GS3 paper under the theme of industrial policy and growth. So, let's first try to inquire the status of pharmaceutical industry in our country. India is considered as the pharmacy of the world, which also reflected during the time of pandemic under India's Vaccine Matri program, where we delivered the needy vaccine and various other critical drugs to several countries across the world. Thus, India stands, when it comes to the production of drugs, we stand at third all over the world in the terms of volume of drugs produced, as well as 14th when it comes to the value of drugs produced, making India the largest provider of generic medicine in the world. For example, in India, we have more than 60,000 brands who produced bulk drugs in 60 categories of therapeutic products. Also, India is a leading vaccine manufacturer. For example, we supply 60% of the global vaccines. The market size of pharmaceutical industry currently stands at $50 billion, and as per a recent report, it is estimated to grow up to $130 billion by the year of 2030. Thus, it is going to play a very important role in making India the third largest economy in the world. To further promote growth of this sector, the government has provided 100% foreign direct investment under automatic route when it comes to pharmaceutical industry. However, as you can see on the infographic, there is a major problem that India relies on API import and has up to 60 to 70% of dependence. Now, a curious mind may wonder, what is this API or active pharmaceutical ingredient? Well, it is basically a chemical substance which is responsible for the therapeutic effect of the medicine, which ultimately affects the diagnosis, mitigation, and the treatment of any particular disease. India imports this majorly from the country China, thus leading to negative balance of trade when it comes to our trade relations with our country China. Thus, the government has taken several steps under Production Linked Incentive Scheme to provide impetus on our pharmaceutical industry. Under this PLI scheme, the government is going to provide financial incentive on incremental sale of pharma goods and in vitro diagnostic medical devices. Incremental sale, what it means is that let's say in the year of 2020, if we consider it as a base year, the sale was, let's say, of 100 rupees and it increased to, let's say, 200 rupees in 2022. So for this increase in sale, the government is going to provide incentive for all the cost which you incurred in the production up to 40% of the produce, and this will be provided in various tranches for 6 years starting from 2021 to the year of 2027 and 28, where 20% will be provided for first 4 years, 15% will be provided for the 5th year, and finally 5% will be provided for the 6th year. This PLI scheme or this financial incentive is available for bulk drugs, for which the government has created 41 critical bulk drugs under the PLI scheme banner, and it is going to create 27 bulk drug parks where we are going to produce these bulk drugs or active pharmaceutical ingredients in our country, such as various antibiotics, antivirals, etc. One of which is penicillin. Penicillin is basically an antibiotic which is used to treat infection caused by any bacteria. And this penicillin is going to be produced in our country after 30 years. Before 30 years, there used to be a manufacturing unit of penicillin in Ahmedabad, which was closed because it was not able to compete with other industries in other countries. But now we have revived this bulk drug production in our country under PLI scheme, also under the larger theme of Make in India. Further, we are also trying to achieve self-reliance when it comes to medical devices, such as CT scan, MRI, dialyzer, etc., for which the government is creating 13 manufacturing plants in our country. Now keep this in mind that all this will ultimately fulfill the Pharma Vision 2047, under which the India aims to become the global leader when it comes to manufacturing affordable as well as quality pharmaceutical drugs as well as medical devices. With this, we move forward to the next news of the day. Elections in Rajya Sabha has been in the news because recently there has been elections for 15 Rajya Sabha seats which took place in various states such as Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka and Himachal Pradesh. This forms an important component of your GS2 paper under the theme of Parliament as well as holds importance for your upcoming prelims examination. Keep this in mind that Parliament is the supreme law-making body in the country, which consists of 3 important parts, that is President, who is Head of State, Council of State, which is Rajya Sabha, and House of People, which is Lok Sabha. Thus, Rajya Sabha represents various states and union territories in our country. So let's first try to understand the structure of Rajya Sabha. As per 4th schedule, which provides for the allocation of seats in Rajya Sabha to various states and union territories, and under Article 80, the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha can stand at 250 members, out of which 238 are representative of states and union territories, while 12 are nominated members. These 12 members are nominated by President and they have experience in various fields such as art, literature, science and social service. However, as per Representation of People Act 1951, currently the strength of Rajya Sabha stands at 245 members, out of which 229 represent states, 4 represents union territories and 12 are nominated members. These nominated members are nominated by the president, while the elected members are elected by the state legislative assemblies of states and union territories. And these members are elected by various political parties. So as you guys can see in the infographic, currently BJP has around 97 members in Rajya Sabha, while INC has around 29 members and so forth. These members have the term of 6 years in Rajya Sabha, and every 2 years around 33% of Rajya Sabha members are retired. Thus, to fill these vacant seats, there is polls which take place every 2 years. Keep this in mind that any member of Rajya Sabha can fight the election to become the member of Rajya Sabha any given number of times. Thus, as we have understood the structure of Rajya Sabha, now let's try to understand how these members are elected to the Council of States. Well, the member of states who represent the states are elected by the elected member of the state's legislative assembly. So if a state, let's say Uttar Pradesh, has a state legislative council or an upper house in their state, or any nominated member, they cannot play any role when it comes to Rajya Sabha election. Then this election take place through the system of proportional representation and by means of single transferable vote. So let's try to understand these two important terms one by one. What do we mean by proportional representation? It means that the seats which are allotted to the states is on the basis of the population of that state. So if there is a state which has a large population such as Uttar Pradesh, it has 31 seats or 31 members in Rajya Sabha will be from the state of Uttar Pradesh. While if a state has a small population such as Tripura or Goa, they have only 1 seat in Rajya Sabha, or only 1 representative from these states becomes the member of Rajya Sabha. At the same time, what do we understand by a single transferable vote? To understand this, let's say that there is a hypothetical state Pepsi, and Pepsi has a legislative assembly. In this legislative assembly, they have 100 members. On other hand, this legislative assembly has two parties, Party A and Party T. Party A has 70 members in legislative assembly, which obviously means that it has formed the government, and Party T only has 30 members. Now, the election for Rajya Sabha is going to take place in this hypothetical state where the seats which has been allocated to this particular state is 3. So, for that election for those 3 seats, the contenders are 5. So now when the voting is going to take place, I will get a ballot. On that ballot, I will have the name of these 5 contenders written as A, B, C, D and E. Now let's say that these A, B and C contenders comes from Party A and these contenders D and E comes from the Party T. So now it's not that I am going to vote for only one person, rather I am going to fill the ballot in the order of preference. So if I come from the party A, it is obvious that my preference will look something like this. Correct? On the other hand, the people who comes from the party T, they will give preference to these D and E. Now, to get elected to Rajya Sabha, these contenders require a certain quota of votes. That quota is decided in this manner, that number of valid votes polled. And how many valid votes can be polled in this election for this state? That is 100. Then the number of seats which are available, how many seats we are fighting for? 3 plus 1. So basically they will require 100 by 4 or 25 seats or 25 votes to get elected to Rajya Sabha. And if there is any state which has more than 1 seats in Rajya Sabha, the value of vote of that MLA is around 100. So that will come to 2500 value of vote, which is required by any of these candidates A, B, C, D and E to get elected to Rajya Sabha. So it is very obvious that if party A has 70 member of seats, then it will be for sure be able to elect at least 2 members. And because T has 30 members, so 25 of will give preference to any D and E. So it is very obvious that they will be also be able to get elected to at least 1 seat. So 3 seats will be divided among these party A and T as per the proportion to their strength in the house. That is why till the year of 1998, there used to be no elections which used to take place for Rajya Sabha, because the parties had already calculated that how many seats they are going to win, and thus they used to give their candidate, and that candidate ultimately used to get a sure win. However, in 1998, in Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, there was an issue of cross voting, where instead of voting on the party lines to select the member from my party, let's say A, B and C, even though I belong to the party A, I voted for D and E. This created the issue and ultimately led to a proper voting system in Rajya Sabha's election. On the similar line, the election also take place in union territories, where these members are indirectly elected by the members of electoral college, which is specially constituted for this election. At the same time, this election also take place on the basis of proportional representation and by the means of single transferable vote. This election also has certain unique features, such as these voting procedures occurs in the respective state legislative assembly. Also, for such voting, if I am going to fill my ballot paper where I am going to give preference to candidates, I can only use violet sketch pen. So if I am going to use any other color, my vote will be held as invalid. Also, because of this issue of cross voting which started taking place, there was certain reforms which was introduced, such as open ballot system, where what happens that, let's say if I have voted for one particular member, which was one particular candidate, which was candidate A, then I am going to show that ballot to a particular agent which has been appointed by the party I belong to, which in most of the cases can be the party whip. If I have not voted on the party line, then that will become a case of defection, because I have not followed the order of whip, and under 10th schedule or 85th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985, 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985, I will be held as disqualified because I did not follow the party line. This system of open ballot was also upheld by the Supreme Court in Kuldeep Nayar versus Union of India 2006, where it held that if secrecy is becoming the weapon of corruption, then transparency shall be incorporated. And this transparency in Rajya Sabha election is incorporated by open ballot system. At the same time, in the year of 2018, the Supreme Court disallowed none of the above option in Rajya Sabha election, considering it to not fall on the lines of single transferable votes. Thus, we have covered in detail about how the election is take place in Rajya Sabha, how the voting take place. We have discussed about the issue of cross voting and an important judgment related to that, which is Kuldeep Nayar versus Union of India 2006. With this, we move forward to the last news of the day. Recently, the Uttar Pradesh government has approved the implementation of police commissionerate system, which will avail the police to take swift decisions regarding maintaining law and order in the state. This forms an important component of your GS2 paper under the theme of government policies and interventions. So let's first try to understand the evolution of commissionerate system in our country. Well, as per 7th schedule, the police as a subject lies with the state government. Further, the policing in our country is regulated by Police Act 1861, and for the further better implementation of this act, the government has recently passed a law called as Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Now, under the normal circumstances, there exists a dual system in one particular district, where the overall in charge of district is the district magistrate and the superintendent of police reports to district magistrate on the issues of policing, thus creating a system of checks and balances. However, the commissionerate system was introduced in Delhi in the year of 1977 to 79. Further, the National Police Commission report of 1983 suggested that such system shall be implemented in the cities which has population of more than 5 lakh and above. Also, the Draft Model Police Act 2005 further suggested that in metro cities and urban areas which has population of more than 10 lakh people shall also be brought under police commissionerate system. Currently, such system is applicable in more than 60 cities across 16 states in our countries. Let's first try to understand what is dual system which is applicable across our country and how commissionerate system is different from this dual system. So under the dual system, the district magistrate gives the direction to superintendent of police and supervise the police administration in the city. Thus, the immediate control over policing lies with SP, and the larger supervisory role is played by district magistrate. At the same time, district magistrate has powers such as to issue the orders for preventive detention and imposition of section 144 under CRPC 1973. Section 144 is basically applied on the areas where there is issue of riot or law and order situation has occurred. Thus, the district magistrate orders under section 144 of CRPC that there cannot be congregation of more than 4 people at one particular place. Thus, it creates a system of checks and balances where there is a separation of power. However, there are several issues associated with this dual system. One of the major reason which is given to adopt commissionerate system is that in mega urban cities with rising population, there are several challenges which cannot be dealt effectively by this dual system. For example, in these mega cities, there can be issue of farmers' agitation, student or labor protest, communal riots can take place. Because of these reasons, the dual system, which has a little bit of latency, which can develop because there are two heads, it is not that much effective to deal with this problem. So, several states has adopted commissionerate system in their mega cities, under which the commissioner of the police, who is basically an officer of DIG rank, he acts as a sole head of the police force of the city, as well as now the power of issuing warrants as well as arrest now vests solely with the commissioner. At the same time, now here in this particular city, there is no separation of power because the power of magistracy as well as policing is now concentrated in the hand of commissioner. Thus, there are several issues which can be dealt effectively by this commissionerate system. However, it can also lead to unchecked police atrocities, as it has been commented by various political theorists. Thus, the ideal way forward is to implement the directives given by Supreme Court in Prakash Singh versus Union of India 1996, in which Supreme Court directed the police force to act in non-partisan manner as well as to adopt and secure human rights of the people. With these suggestions, we have reached to the end of our session today. Do not forget to attempt the questions at the end of the video and check your knowledge. We will meet in a very interesting session very soon. Till then, all the very best for your preparation and thank you.